Okay, we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks, coming to you today from a wet outskirts of Madrid. Finally, we have some rain, which is greatly appreciated in this part of the world, I'll tell you, because it hasn't rained literally for months here. We're going to be taking a look at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press this evening. What's the date today? The 21st of October, 7:40 p.m. And we'll also look at some comments that have been left on the channel in recent times by viewers. We'll go into the live chat as we always do around the second half of the live stream, 20 minutes in roughly. We'll go and look at the live chat. So if you are watching this evening, say hello in that live chat. Now, let's get straight into the news. And the story that caught my attention today, this one here, the housing crisis here in Spain is seen as the main source of inequality, says Oxfam report. Despite Spain's economy growing 3 times faster than the eurozone average, most citizens say they feel little improvement in their daily lives. According to a new Oxfam Intermón report, Vivir, desigualdad, housing is viewed as the leading driver of inequality in Spain. Over half of respondents, 52%, believe the social elevator is broken, with success depending more on family background than ability or effort. The study highlights the contrast between robust macroeconomic indicators such as record employment and near pre-2008 jobless levels and the widespread sense of stagnation among ordinary Spaniards. Women, young people, racial minorities and low-income households are the most pessimistic, citing insecure jobs and unaffordable housing. Property prices have reached their highest level since the housing bubble, fueling discontent. So the reality for many people here in Spain, the economy is, according to the government and all reports, macroeconomic data booming at the moment, but the average Spaniard, as we saw there, wondering what's going on? Why aren't I feeling this economic boom that the government is telling us about? And quite simply, it's because, as we saw there, some of the things that Spaniards used to access quite easily, for example, housing, now out of reach for many people, and the inequalities coming from income, primarily low salaries. Of course, if you are at the lower end of the wage scale here in Spain, you can't afford to live in a lot of the big cities anymore. Madrid off limits, Barcelona off limits, and that is unfortunately the reality for many people. If your parents are well off, no dramas, because they can give you the money to buy a house or help you get a loan to buy a house, get onto the property ladder. The social elevator will take you up. But if not, it's tough. And that is what people are dealing with currently here in Spain. Maybe we'll see down the track that the economy does start to have an impact on the majority of people's lives, but currently the figures are not reflecting on the population. Second piece of news here, and Mr. Sanchez is calling for the EU to end clock changes by 2026. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has announced that Spain will formally propose ending seasonal clock changes across the European Union next year. In a video posted on social media, Sánchez said the twice-yearly time shift no longer makes sense, citing scientific evidence that it fails to save energy and disrupts biological rhythms. He noted that 66% of Spaniards support abolishing the practice. Spain will present its proposal at Monday's EU Council meeting on transport, telecommunications and energy. Although the European Parliament voted in 2019 to end daylight saving time, and the European Commission backed the move after a public consultation where 84% of 4.6 million respondents favoured scrapping it, the reform stalled due to a lack of consensus among member states. The Spanish government argues that with current EU time change rules set to expire in 2026, now is the moment to act. So Prime Minister Sánchez they're calling on the EU to change the daylight savings routine, not only in Spain, but in the rest of European Union countries as well. Maybe he should be concentrating on more serious things that affect the average Spaniard more than daylight savings. I don't know, just putting it out there. But maybe there is an issue here with the time zone that we are on, and perhaps we should look at getting back on the proper time zone for Spain, and then we can see about changing the daylight savings time. Let me know if you agree that daylight savings should be scrapped or not. Let me know in the chat section or the comment section what your opinion on this is, because as we saw there, lots of people in favour of scrapping daylight savings. But the question now is, which time regime, let's say, do we stay on? Do we stay on the daylight savings time, meaning that we don't go back an hour, I think, which we're due to do quite soon? Or do we stay on winter time, which means that the sun will come up earlier in the morning but set earlier in the evening? That is the question that people are asking themselves. What do you prefer, more light in the morning hours to get things done, or do you prefer more light in the evening hours to get things done? That's the question. And for some parts of Spain, because of the wrong time zone that we are on, places like Galicia in the northwest of the country that theoretically should be on the same time zone as Portugal, as with the rest of the country, I think, are not. And that means that if we do stay on daylight savings time or summertime, it won't get light there until 10 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know what type of impact that would have on the population in Galicia, but my suggestion would be to get Spain onto its proper time zone, and then we'll start making changes. Another piece of news here: in Spain freezes social security contributions for 1.4 million self-employed workers. The Spanish government has announced the plan to freeze 2026 social security contributions for around 1.4 million self-employed workers, mostly those earning under 1,166 euros a month or 14,000 euros annually. The measure, outlined by Social Security Minister Elma Saith, targets the three lowest income brackets of the contribution system. It marks a major adjustment to an earlier proposal that had included sharp increases in payments. For higher earning freelancers, the government now proposes modest rises of 1% to 2.5% in their minimum contribution bases, equating to monthly increases between €2.90 and €14.75. This is a significant reduction from the initial plan, which foresaw hikes of up to €206 per month. The reform aims to ease the financial strain on low-income workers while maintaining progressivity in contributions. So Spain freezing or planning to freeze. It's just the government proposal at the moment. Of course, they have to get the okay from the social partners, as the government calls them here in Spain, to get these ideas across the line, and it will most likely have to go through Parliament, I think. But the government backtracking on earlier proposals, which, as I mentioned the other day, aimed at squeezing the self-employed even more than they already are. The minister came out today defending her policy, saying that no, social security contributions aren't a tax. So a lot of people accusing the government, as I said, of trying to get the absolute maximum out of the self-employed, in turn most likely destroying the business fabric of this country, because there are many self-employed people. If you own a shop, if you own a small restaurant, if you own a bar, you are going to be self-employed if you are the owner of that establishment, and those are the people that do it tough. And anybody who is self-employed in this country will know that the social security contributions are the biggest killer to their incomes. And if they are frozen for people that are earning 14 grand a year, let's be honest, with 14 grand, what are you doing? What are you doing with 14 grand nowadays? How can you live in a city like Madrid or Barcelona or Valencia or Malaga with 14,000 euros a year? So let's hope that the government does go through with this contribution freeze plan, because people need to have money in their pocket and not being taken away from them by the government, I don't think. But again, just my opinion. And the final article that we'll see here today in Murcia, 11 days without drinking water in Mar Menor towns after flooding disaster. Residents in several towns across Spain's Mar Menor have been without drinking water for 11 days following severe floods caused by Storm Alice on the 10th of October. The disaster contaminated a major water supply canal belonging to the Taibilla Canal's Commonwealth with runoff and mud, cutting potable water to about 100,000 people across San Javier, San Pedro del Pinatar, Los Alcáceres, and nearby villages. Cleanup of 20 kilometers of affected underground pipelines has now concluded, and authorities expect water supplies to return to normal by Wednesday or Thursday. For now, tap water can only be used for hygiene and cleaning in some towns, while others, like El Mirador, considered ground zero of the storm, remain without safe water. Locals describe daily struggles using bottled water and heating basins for bathing. Officials blame agricultural encroachment on natural waterways for worsening the floods. So, one of Spain's most environmentally sensitive areas, the Mar Menor part of the country down there in the region of Murcia, 100,000 people there without suitable drinking water in the year 2025, going on to 2026 because of the recent storm, the floods causing the waters to become contaminated there. Agricultural encroachment is the word being used there, being thrown around, and anyone who has been to that part of Murcia will know that the agricultural sector encroaches on a lot of the population down there. And when problems like this happen, and let's be honest, it's going to become more and more frequent going forward, I believe, because the rains are becoming more intense. But hopefully they can get their act together in that part of Spain and make sure that problems like this don't affect a country like Spain, because these are not problems that should be affecting a country like Spain, again, in my opinion. Let's go into the comment section now, see what has been bubbling away there as far as viewers' opinions are concerned. This one here from Blu-ray Fan 66. Ola Stewart, in 2026, I have read the DGT, or the Traffic Authority in Spain, will be updating the sticker system. The BC Eco or Eco and Zero categories remain, but the criteria will be updated. So in other words, some cars may drop down a category. Some cars may lose their category altogether. Stickers issued before 2026 remain valid. New classifications apply to cars registered from 2026 onwards. Thanks, Blu-ray. This has been a hot topic on the channel in recent times, ever since I published a video last Saturday, I think it was, where I brought this to people's attention. Some of the big changes that are coming to Spanish cities as of 2026. Honestly speaking, I've been talking about this for years now. I think I did a video firstly back in 2022 when all of this first became an item. And the sticker system began to come in force here in Spain. And a lot of people's cars will be affected going forward because of the low emission zones, which are going to be implemented or need to be implemented in cities with more than 50,000 people. And there are many cities in Spain with more than 50,000 people. Where I live, 105,000 people, to give you an example. And basically all of the cities around Madrid, lots of cities around the country, more than 50,000. And they're going to have their stickers reviewed. And it's going to be more difficult to get a sticker according to the type of car that you have. And if you've got a car without a sticker, and I think some people have left comments regarding their cars and their lack of sticker, it's going to be tougher to drive in cities. If you're in a small town, nothing to worry about. But in cities where there's more than 50,000 people, say goodbye to taking your car in and out of those cities going forward. Dark Angel, another comment. Moved and bought property in Catalonia 25 years ago and commuted to London every week for 8 years. Best decision. Now early retired, commuting had its moments, flying, bad weather, delays, etc. Spain is a fantastic place to live. Highly recommended. I am a British national resident in Spain before Brexit. Brexit, oh dear, what a poor decision. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether Brexit was a poor decision or not. It's not for me to have an opinion on that. I'm sure lots of people watching the video will have their own opinions on the Brexit saga, which still continues to make comments some 10 years on. And a resident there who used to commute back and forth to, where was it, London? For 8 years on a weekly basis, flying in, flying out, enjoying Spain at the weekends, but of course spending the Monday to Friday, I imagine, or Monday to Thursday in the metropolis that is London, and recommends living in Spain. And fantastic place to live. Why not? Thank you very much for the comment. Interesting story, that is it. Commuting from Barcelona to London every week for 8 years. Wow. Another comment here from CLT007. Being fingerprinted like a criminal to catch criminals that will create false ID or drift into dark. CLT not a fan of the new EES system, the exit-entry system, or the entry-exit system, whichever way you want to put those words around. EES is the acronym. And it has its detractors, that is for sure. You only have to see some of the videos on the internet to realize that that is the case, that people won't be happy, like CLT007, of being fingerprinted. No problems giving your biometric data to Apple or to Google, but when it comes to giving it to the government, it's a different story according to CLT007 there. What will it lead to? False IDs, drifting into the dark, fingerprinted like a criminal. Well, no choices. Werner X is the next one. The normal German retiree planning to buy in Spain has to get rid of his or her house in Germany first, and that's a big problem right now for elderly houses. If you don't want to give them away for almost nothing. So the retirement plan is shattered. Thanks, Werner, for the comment there. I imagine that it is getting more and more difficult for people approaching their retirement to have a solid financial system in place so that you can retire to a place like Spain if that was your plan. And if it does happen that your property becomes almost worthless, which is what I think Werner is trying to point out here. I don't know the reasons behind that, so if somebody could shed some light on why these German properties have become virtually worthless, let us know. Is it to do with government policy, rules and regulations? It could be. I've got no idea. But a lot of people do put a lot of their income over the years that they're active into their home, into their property, and they are often relying on the sale of that property to perhaps downsize to a country like Spain from Germany or from the UK or from another Northern European country. And if those dreams are shattered, not good. Thanks, Werner, for the comment and for letting us know the situation there for German retirees. Some German retirees. Recipe review. My car is too old to have a sticker. It's 20 years old, runs great, not a smoker, and passes emissions test every 6 months as it's classed as commercial. Easy to get rid. Increase the emissions test, but then a lot of newer cars would fail. Hence the VW and BMW scandals of cheating to meet US emission standards. Not about clean, about money making green. Thanks, a recipe review. The owner of an older vehicle, 20 years old, runs great, no issues. Why do we need to get rid of it? Why do we need to trade it in? Well, it is because of those emissions laws, those stricter emissions laws. And of course, when you go to the ITV test, as it's known here in Spain, the vehicle inspection test every 6 months, in Recipe Review's case there with the commercial vehicle, 12 months for other owners of vehicles, it will become more and more difficult to get the okay from those ITV stations if they do increase the emissions, the emission levels that your car is putting out through the exhaust system when they stick the little gadget in the exhaust system, which is what they do, and you rev the motor. If the barometer changes, of course, it's going to make it more and more difficult for them to pass your car. And I imagine a time will come where a lot of vehicles will just not be passed. They'll be taken off the roads forcefully. Hopefully that won't happen. But the way we're heading, who knows? Who knows? Or maybe I'm being a little bit too negative. I don't know. Jilly, we've had a park and ride for at least 20 years here in the UK towns and cities, but it only works well if the public transport link is user-friendly. Thanks, Jilly. Yeah, more and more places here in Spain will be promoting this park and ride system, especially in the big cities that I've mentioned on a few occasions tonight, the Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Valencias, the Malagas, where they have these expanding low-emission zones, more pedestrianised areas in the city, and they're going to encourage public transport. Park outside the city, catch the bus in, but again, what are those systems like? Are they reliable? Always the issue with some public transport. Maybe not in some parts of the UK. Where I live, it's not too bad. You can park and ride, and many people come from smaller towns around here, park their car at the metro station, take it into the centre of the city because they don't want the hassle of firstly finding a place to park, which can be difficult in Madrid, and also the traffic stress, and also the limitations if your car doesn't have the right sticker, and you're going to be fined every time you go into an area where you shouldn't be going into. That is the centre of Madrid. And the final comment here from Dude, Portugal is tough wage-wise. Now, I'm not sure what this comment refers to, but I've highlighted to show people that Spain is tough wage-wise, but if you think Spain is tough, Portugal's even tougher. And that's what Dude's pointing out there. The minimum salary, I think it was because of the minimum salary that I mentioned the other day in Spain, around 1,200 euros a month. In Portugal, 750, maybe 800, maybe it's gone up. I don't know. There's a new government in Portugal, so maybe they have put the minimum salary up. But again, if you're living in a city like Lisbon, if you're living in a city like Porto, and you're making the minimum salary, it's tough. It's tough. So thanks, Dude, for the comment. Now I'm going to go into the live chat section in just a moment. I have to change the backdrop photo. We can see it here. This is from John, who's currently in Almeria. Not exactly sure what part of Almeria John is at currently, but a lovely photo. Sunset, no doubt. The sun setting down over the hills there, over the Mediterranean Sea, and a lovely bunch of colours that we've got from the sky, and also the greenery. Quite lush, I will say, for that part of Spain. But yeah, lovely picture. Thanks, John, for sending it through. If you've got a picture that you would like to see on the backdrop, the email address is on the screen currently, spainspeaks@gmail.com. Feel free to send pictures through to that email address, or anything else that you want to send my way, be it an article or anything else that has caught your attention about Spain and you think would be worthy or newsworthy for the channel. The like icon is on the screen too. If you haven't hit the like icon yet, please consider doing so. It's completely free, and you'll see the like button. You'll see the like button just below the video if you're watching on a computer or whatever other device you're watching on. Television, you'll probably have to go into the settings. It's a bit more complicated, but if you could do me the favor of hitting the like button, I would appreciate it. Also, people that have supported the channel in recent times, whether it's through the super thanks option here on YouTube, the super chat during the live streams, people that have bought me a coffee, Patreon supporters, longer term supporters on Patreon, thank you very much for that support. And of course, the channel members. And we'll see a few of the channel members now when we get into the live stream. They'll have the little yellow star next to their name to show that they are supporters of the channel. Thank you very much for that. And again, the other people that support the channel as well, greatly appreciated. Now, let me get this off the screen first. Let's see what's bubbling away in the chat section. Not expecting a lot considering the amount of viewers this evening, around 100 viewers. So let's see if there is some activity in the chat. Let me scroll up to the top. The familiar names: Andrew, one of those, the first person that I can see here. Hope you are well. From a very wet London southeast. Yes, wet where I am too, Andrew. As I said, the first time we've seen rain for quite a while. So, not sure how long it'll stick around for. I think it's only this week, and the temperatures are said to be rising again in some parts of the country from next week on. So, just a storm passing over the country, I think. Barbara coming in from Catral, slowly recovering from bursitis. Pleasant 30 degrees Celsius there today. Bonus for this time in October. 30 degrees? Wow. A bonus. Amanda coming in from a chilly Shropshire. I'm sure Amanda would be wishing those 30-degree temperatures were, or maybe not in Shropshire. I don't know if they're prepared for 30 degrees there. But you get what I mean. Some better weather rather than the chilly Shropshire weather, right? James and, coming in from, greeting. Oh, no, sorry. We'll get on to the first one here. James and Kathy coming in from Worcester today, but getting colder, sunny, but getting colder. Ferry booked for late February, back to Spain. Thanks for that, guys. Good to see you've got your plans to come back. Hope all is well there in Worcester. Antonio coming in from South Texas. Howdy from there, where the sky is always clear and the heat is non-stop. South Texas. Thanks for that, Antonio. Sunny, simple hello everyone. High Flyer John, the taker of the photo that we have behind us down there in back in the cold UK. Looking forward to our March 26th return already. All the best, John. So a brief stop over in Spain, took a few photos, drank a few beers, headed back to the UK. Back in, when was it? March. Alla's in the chat too, as always. Signing in from a sunny 20 degrees Celsius Philadelphia. Tonight I'll be leaving on a jet plane back again to El Puerto. Down there in the south of the country. Just saw a family of deer out the back window. Awesome. Probably won't be seeing too many of those down there in El Puerto, the deer variety. I don't think so anyway. Maybe if you head up into the Sierra of Cádiz, you might see some. But in El Puerto, perhaps not. Good luck with the trip. And as the Elton John song went, what was it? Al is leaving tonight on a plane. Heading to Spain. Nice one, Barbara. Barbara's obviously said something there, not sure. Who's this? Ruby Dog, coming in from Denver, Colorado. Stu, what's your favourite football team? By football, I suppose that you mean soccer, as I've always called it, or at least when I was growing up, it was known as soccer. We have a different football code in Australia, a few football codes actually. You've got rugby, two types of rugby. You've got Australian rules football, AFL. You've got European football, soccer, if you like. And do I have a favourite team here in Spain? Not really. I'm not really a fan, but the family supports Atlético de Madrid. So probably, if I had to choose a team, it would be that one there. If I had to choose a team. Chrissy coming in from a cooler part of Spain, down there in the south, no rain. Brandy liqueurs have gone up to $3.59. Gutted. They were $1.99. That's a big increase, Chrissy. Don't know what's that, due to tax or just the supermarket taking the P155? I don't know. $3.59 from $1.99? That's a huge increase. Prices have gone up 3%. More than 3%, tell you that. $1.99 to $3.59. It's not quite double, but getting there. YouTubers coming in from Torrevieja, 32 degrees Celsius there in the pool. Pool today, 21st of October. Wow. One person who's not in the pool would be Brady. Rainy in Lugo. I imagine the pool season in Lugo finished a couple of months ago. Low salaries and contracts with time limits are awful in Spain. Yep. I don't know what goes wrong with the labour market here, but the contract system, all of the rules and regulations that they put on businesses, workers have to have time sheets and things like that. They've got to say when they're checking in, when they're checking out. You've got all of these rules piled on top. It's just an absolute bureaucratic nightmare. One of the least friendly business countries in the world, no doubt, is this one here. No doubt. They do seasonal time changes here. Drives me nuts, says Johnny. Yeah, drives a lot of people nuts here as also, Johnny, when you lose or gain an hour a couple of times throughout the year. Hopefully Sanchez will go on the correct time zone, not Berlin's. Yeah, there's no talk of that, Al. There's only talk about scrapping daylight saving time change. So the question is, do we stay on the time that we're currently on now, so 8:10 p.m., or do we stay on the winter time, which would be 7:10 p.m. currently? That's the question. They're not saying go back to Berlin time or get off Berlin time and go back to Greenwich time or whatever, or the same time zone as Portugal, UK, Ireland. No talk of that. 8:30 a.m, pretty late here. Thanks, Brady, for that. I imagine that's when the sun comes up in the morning, pretty late. Lugo, yeah. Well, it's going to be even later if we stay on this time, Brady, I think. YouTubers, Spain has the same meridian as UK and GMT. Crazy having Central European, Paris and Berlin time. Yeah, it is crazy, but again, no talk of scrapping that time. No mention whatsoever. Andrew is saying that prices have increased by 4% in the UK, has been told. In reality, my weekly shopping bill is up 30%. Yeah, I think everyone's suffering the same thing. We get told what inflation is, but the reflection in our weekly shopping basket is a lot more than what we're told, especially with certain items that are breaking that, that 4% inflation or whatever the figure is, 3%, whatever. But anyway. Barbara, for me, definitely more light in the evening. Otherwise, it will get dark quite early, even in the summer. So there we go. Barbara pushing for the constant summertime. Andrew saying that Spain's time zone was changed by Franco to align with a certain German gentleman as an act of friendship to his regime. Yes, we can blame Franco for a lot of things that happen in Spain. Some people will say good, some people will say bad. Don't know. Diego, there are around 3 million self-employed workers in Spain, but 10 million plus pensioners. The government prioritises the votes of the latter. Yes, Diego, we know. And the 3 million self-employed expected to help subsidise the pensioners, I imagine. And it's a shame because it completely kills the business fabric. There's no incentive to hire people. No incentive at all. You have to have a very good business model and a successful cash flow system. Otherwise, you are proverbially, I think that's the word, screwed. And 14,000 euros a year as a self-employed person. German Werner must have been drunk when he wrote that comment. German property prices have trebled in the last 10 years. There we go. So I don't know what Werner was on about there. But again, maybe he's in a particular situation that has seen his property devalue over the years. I don't know. Marianne saying hit the like icon like she did. Thanks for that. E-Scooter says, Chrissy, you have to be registered and licensed and insured. Is it true? I think there is a plan to do exactly that, Chrissy. Registered, licensed and insured. I'm getting an e-scooter tomorrow. I think it's arriving tomorrow. So I'll be putting a video coming up soon on that as a possible form of getting around here in Spain where car use is becoming more and more difficult. Maybe the e-scooter is the solution. I don't know. But if we need a license and a helmet, I think insurance. I think insurance definitely. License, I don't think so. Greetings from Gigi from Surprise, Arizona. 34 degrees Celsius. They're always sunny and warm. Let's all move there. Why not? A&L, Andrew and Lorraine coming in from France. Hi, Stuart. Keep up the good work. Thanks for that positive comment. I will try and keep up the good work. While I enjoy it, of course. When I stop enjoying it, I might pack it in. Nature, what's this? Nature Girl Cat. I've been trying to convince some family members that we are not hated abroad. How do the Spaniards in general feel overall about citizens of the US emigrating to Spain? No issues, I don't think, Nature Girl, unless you have strong political opinions that people don't agree with. Maybe you might find yourself getting into some conflicts, but if you're the average US citizen who leads a discreet life and goes about your day-to-day, not causing any problems and not, doing some crazy things, then, yeah, welcome. No one's going to judge you because of where you come from. You just look like everyone else. You look like me, most likely, or another tourist who's getting around Spain. And lots of Americans have settled in both Portugal and Spain over the last 10 years or so. I think it's one of the groups that's growing the most. People getting out of the US for whatever reasons, whether it's, to looking for a sea change or a tree change or whatever they call it, or whether they're not happy with the way things are going in the States. Maybe they're looking for more opportunities. I don't know. But no one's going to judge you because of where you're from. Obviously, if you're wearing maybe a certain type of hat, or somebody could say something, but if you're discreet, as I said, no issues. Then again, I'm not from the States, but people from the States that I know here, no problems. Thomas, hi Stu, I usually catch a catch-up follower in Sydney, but over in the UK visiting family, so watching live. Good luck with that, Thomas. Have a good time in the UK. And, getting back to Sydney soon, I imagine. Sydney's one of those cities in Australia that I've been to a few times over the years. I'm a Melbourne guy. I prefer Melbourne. If I had to choose between Melbourne and Sydney, I'm going to be honest. It's just, the sport reason probably. And Sydney, yeah, it's a beautiful city. Geographically spectacular, of course. Fantastic beaches, but yeah, some things I didn't quite like, but that's just me. The picture keeps freezing tonight, Stuart. Yeah, probably a YouTube problem or a problem with the stream. Not much I can do about it, unfortunately. For me, everything seems to be working fine, James. So probably a problem at your end, I would say, or on the streaming platform. So nothing much I can do about it. And Nature Girl saying, thank you. No hats here, ha ha. Yeah, it's all about the symbolism, I think. If you're, it's one of those things. If you travel outside of the US, and everyone has political views on certain things, but nobody's interested in them. So, as I said, if you keep discreet and keep your opinions to yourself, I think that's generally the way to go in any country nowadays. And no one's going to judge you, I don't think, from where you're from or what the current political situation is in your country. But again, just my opinion. That's the end of the live stream. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again on Thursday. Adios. Hasta luego. Hasta entonces. Bye-bye.